Welcome to Cinder of the Universe. I'm Cinder. This is my universe. I wanted to give a little ranty about the difference between, symptoms, clinical pictures, diagnoses, root causes, and the like. And mind you, it's a rant, and I don't have all my notes in front of me, so it is what it is. But there's key information in here. Yes. So basically, I'm really tired of having doctors tell me that they're diagnosing me with something that is not a diagnosis. It is merely a symptom. And they seem to think that when we hit a diagnosis of some element, their job is done. And that is all. Missing the whole point of finding the root of the problem, finding the root cause, and finding, why this is happening. Trying to help you understand what's going on with the body in order to actually discover what's wrong. Just because a doctor has gathered enough symptoms and put them together that fits a clinical picture of a diagnosis that has been acknowledged by, who knows, it could be only 5 individuals, it could be 20 individuals, it could be a whole slew of individuals who are saying, this is what we think it is a consensus. We have made a consensus that this is what this is. And it fits in here. It fits in this group of symptoms. Yeah. That is like part of the practice of medicine. It's a clinical picture of symptoms that are leading to this diagnosis that is just a term. It's not the end of the discovery process. Like you're stopping the scientific method before you've even reached a conclusion. You've reached a hypothesis or a piece of hypothesis. You need to dig further. Go farther. Yeah. It's very frustrating. It's almost like somebody. This is being more extreme. I'm being wildly extreme, but say a medical professional diagnoses a patient with cold feet syndrome. What are we going to do about that? What are we going to do about this cold feet syndrome? Is that the end of the thing? Is that the end of the line? I'm sorry, patient, you have cold feet syndrome. Wear socks. Goodbye. Well, doctor, I'm wearing 3 pairs of socks. Oh, interesting. Well, sit by the fire. Oh, doctor, I'm wearing 3 pairs of socks. I'm on my heat pad, and I'm also by the fire. I've got hot heat, cold heat, and warm heat. I've got all the heats. Interesting. You have a really bad case of cold feet syndrome. And that is not good. That is not good enough. That is what I would call a bad practice. That is a bad practice. Do we have cold feet because there's a circulation issue? Do we have a circulation issue because we have a thyroid issue? Is it the thyroid or is it the pituitary gland? Or what part of, what is that system called? Why is it blanking on me today? The thyroid with the pituitary, with the adrenals, the pituitary adrenal axis, I think, and the pituitary system. There we go, pituitary system, and then there is an axis in there. Anyway, that's what I'm saying. Don't quote me on terminology here. Just I'm giving you a gist. Is it because there's not enough TSH, which is a stimulating hormone, SH, stimulating hormone? That's what it stands for. Also, I would like to put it out there that it would be really great if medical professionals would stop using the abbreviations for everything. How are we all supposed to know what that is? Actually just say it out all the way. If you're going to write a paper, you spell it out the first few times, and maybe the first time in a page or a chapter, and then you can use the abbreviation. There's a proper way to use abbreviations, but if you're trying to educate the public, anyway, that's side note. Is it because we have low T3? Is it because we have low T4? Is it because the thyroid is not producing T4 and T3 correctly? Is it there's too much free teeth? There's multiple things that can be tested in the thyroid, and seemingly the medical world has shifted a little bit to be able to more accurately diagnose hypo and hyperthyroidism, but they're still outlaying, misinformed or uneducated or, not re-educated medical professionals out there that are still not doing it right. Okay, there you have a free T, you have a free T4, you have a free T3, you have a total T3, a total T4. You also have a TSH, which I want to say that's the thyroid stimulating hormone, but I'm not positive about the T, but I know it's a stimulating hormone. So the stimulating hormone comes from the pituitary gland, if I remember correctly. Again, double check my work. I'm not working off of notes right here. I'm driving and doing errands. Is it a pituitary issue? Do we not have enough signaling molecules to the pituitary gland in order to stimulate the pituitary gland to say that it needs stuff? So the pituitary gland sends the stimulating hormone to the thyroid in the neck. And there's also other things that happen from the pituitary gland to the brain, to the neck, to this, and you can't necessarily test all those things because they're not enough of it to actually spill out into the blood supply to test from your arm. So there's those avenues as well, to know that what you're pulling from your arm is not a full representation of your whole entire body. You got to understand some of the mechanisms and mechanics that work behind the scene here, underneath the skin, in the bones, in the muscle, there's a lot to it. So if is it starting at the axis up at the pituitary gland where it's not reaching the thyroid and telling the thyroid that it needs T3, T4, and also there is, T4 and T3. I don't know if they go back and forth but one of them, it's I think it's again, don't quote me, go look it up, but I think it's T4 that is the active form that activates your body, and the T3 is the inactive form, but it actually is very necessary for signaling in multiple body systems as well. So even though it's not considered the active, it's still considered. So if you have a high T4, a lot of times the human will feel very high anxiety, which, by the way, is not a diagnosis. That is merely a symptom. And there's a variety of reasons you can have anxiety. So is it too high of T4? So having T4, is it a free T4? Because a high amount of free T4 is getting into the body and signaling organs to do all kinds of stuff. But if you have a total T4, that's telling you how much you have total T4 in your system, and at least the little vial that they pull from your blood, they're measuring that. That is what they're measuring. The test is only as good as the amount of what is measured, and the person who's doing the analysis of the test of the sample, they're only as good as the knowledge that they have to do that test. There's lots of steps that come in between this and the test. So how much, depending if you have a high T4, is it a high T4 because you have a high free T4, or is it you have low free T4 and most of your T4 is bound, but you still have a very high? You see how I'm getting with this? I'm focusing mainly on the thyroidy elements, but you can also have a free T3 and a total T3. And then the medicine thyroxine is actually a synthetically made T3. And what they're getting at is we don't want to over aggravate the system with a T4, because that can cause high anxiety and it's harder to balance and everything. But also the T3 is supposed to be converted to the T4. So if you're missing some step in that process of conversion, you can throw as much T3 as you want in that body, and it is not getting the T4. It is missing a very vital element of the whole system. So just throwing T3 doesn't always solve the problem, and that is why you have this argument between some patients and some endocrinologists as to do we give usually it's a pig, it's synthesized from pigs, and then you get T4. Oh, it's telling me that I forgot to do my turn and I need to, oh shit, I don't know where I'm going, I wasn't paying attention. attention. Shame on me. I don't want to go that way though. So, like, if you, some people that are dealing with hypothyroidism actually don't have enough T4, and it's because they're having trouble converting the T3 to the T4. So their body might be making plenty of T3, and they might have plenty of T3, but they're not getting that T4, and so they're feeling very, depressed. They're feeling, they don't have a lot of energy. They're tired. They don't get a lot of blood flow. Like, there's so much that is signaled from the T3 and the T4, and the T4 is one of the main active ones. So if you can't convert your T3 to the T4, you're going to have a lot of issues still. That's why it's important to get the whole picture and to test around to get a full picture of what's going on with the body. If you're not getting enough stimulating hormone from the pituitary gland to activate the thyroid, then you're not going to get enough in general. Now I have to figure out how to turn around. It's saying, oh, you can turn here, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be like yellow lines. Yep, look at that. Yellow lines saying, no, you don't turn here. So, where's it? Where's it going to turn around? Let's see. We'll go. Haha, here we go. Yeah, we can actually. Yeah, this is good. This is good. I got this. Yeah. Figured it out. Anyway. So, the process goes on, and I am not going to be able to cover all of the things that happen with the thyroid as, saying, this is a symptom or a clinical picture in this video. The other part of the element is, what the T, is it? No, never mind. I'm double guessing myself. Don't quote me. Never mind. But the T4, T3, the 3 represents, and again, go look this up, like double check me, but the 3 represents 3 iodine molecules. So it takes 3 iodine molecules to make the T3 in your thyroid. And I'm not sure if there is another body organelle that does make T4 or T3, because there's in your body, like some organs are actually responsible for the main production of a particular element or item or enzyme or whatever the thing is, but then also other parts of the body can also make that thing, so there's some play. Anyway, I'm not sure if that is so with because there might be another organ that can actually convert T3 to T4. I don't know, I'm spacing on that for sureness. Anyway, so the 3 is the 3 iodine, the 4 is a 4 iodine. So with that information, we should be able to deduce that your body needs iodine. I'm saying this very sarcastically, okay? Because the amount of iodine that we get is severely limited. And the amount of iodine that is in the soils that we get our food is severely limited. This was one of the reasons that we started as, a nation in the United States. Anyway, the other ones are, I don't know, but started supplementing iodine into our salt. We missed a little bit of nuance here to the iodine in the salt. 1, what type of salt? 2, what quality of salt? And 3, is it bioavailable? And 4, can it be broken apart? And 5, can it be absorbed into the body in the appropriate ways in order to be used by the thyroid? And there's multiple forms of iodine. So what kind of iodine does your thyroid need? What kind of iodine does your body need? Like, it's not just the thyroid is not the only organ that needs iodine. Okay? Like, breast tissue needs a lot of iodine. Where am I going? What's going on? When I have the tiny piece of map, it's not always the best map. Oh yes, there. I see the name of the place I'm going. Anyway, so you need iodine. If you don't have iodine, you can't make enough T4 or T3. So no matter how much stimulating hormone you're getting from the pituitary gland, if you don't got the iodine, you can't make the T3, T4. And there's more. There is more. Iodine is a halide. When you look at the periodic table, you can see halides. If I still had it memorized, I would tell you a little bit more about it because it's really amazing, but I do not have it memorized at this time, and my brain is not wanting to pull that memory out of the filing cabinet. Anyway, so you have a class of halides. There's lots of halides, but in particular, there's chloride, iodide, and fluoride. And what does our water supply have in so many places? Fluoride, chloride, but not iodide. Not so much. But it's got a lot of fluoride and chloride. Yeah. Now, these things are natural occurring elements, and we actually need some level of them in our body. I don't want to get too far into the fluoride thing. There's a lot of stuff going on in there, and I need to do more research in order to be able to talk about it even generally. But it is a natural forming element. Okay. I do want to say that the waste product from, I think it's phosphorus, there is a fluoride that comes from a waste product of a type of manufacturing of a chemical, and that is usually what is being used, and it's not the same as the naturally occurring fluoride. Okay, so there's stuff there. Go out, find it. But with similar like molecules, in chemistry, there's this thing that's called like dissolves like, right? Opposites attract. Okay, so when your body uses this, there's this thing called biochemistry and body chemistry. Imagine that. So your body uses things that are similar, can get attached to receptor sites. So if you have a receptor for iodine, it is in your thyroid so that you can absorb the iodine in order to make the T3 and the T4. Well, the receptor sites don't always, they're not super smart, okay? And if they have more chloride and fluoride in abundance than they do iodide, guess what gets stuck in your thyroid? The chloride and the iodide. The chloride and the fluoride. And then guess what can't get to the thyroid? The iodine. The iodide. So, also, like I said, these are mechanical structures. They're not necessarily the super most intelligent thing ever in the world. They're not like, no, sir, you don't belong here. Get away, fluoride. Get away, chloride. I only want iodide. No, they're like, oh, you kind of fit. It fits in there. Well, I'm not sure which one it was, but maybe it was both the chloride and fluoride. They're sticky. Like, they want to stay there and hold on to it. And also the thyroid cells, they want to hold the iodide so that they can use it. So the whole mechanism is to hold on to this halide. So it's gonna hold on to the fluoride and the chloride. And guess what? You cannot make T3, T4 with fluoride and chloride. You can't make it. And so now you have these receptor sites that are full of fluoride and chloride. And there is, I was following a method, I think it was the Brownstein method, and you double check me, go ahead, go look it up at all the things, but there is a way to kind of kick off these other halides to allow there to be more freedom to attach to iodide. And you also have to have a level of concentration that is enough to reach this area. So if you're eating the iodide, you're eating the iodine, there's multiple forms. So there's the supplementing for iodide, there's a suggestion that you need to take the different forms of it so that your body can process and move it in different ways to get to where it needs to be in the right form, where it needs to be for your thyroid. But you need to have a level of concentration in order to help move and kick off these elements. And so there's different mechanisms that you have to trigger in your body to help move this along. And also, if you just kick off all these halides in your whole body, these receptor sites that are meant to hold iodide, and you kick off all of the fluoride and the chloride, you could have a reaction because you have all this if it's a level too high, then it means it's toxic. So it's a little bit of that, what they say, dose makes the poison kind of, which is that, okay, it's not the best way to say things, but anyway, it kind of works. You kind of do need some level of these things, but if you have too many of the halides, then it does cause other problems in your body. So having free fluoride and halide floating around in your system can cause some problems. So you need to find a way to, get those halides attached, and guess what attaches well to halides? Salt, which is one of the reasons that salt was used, that we're going to attach a salt iodide to salt so that we can have, and I don't remember exactly what form of iodine is in salt. I don't, sorry, you're gonna have to go find that, but I'm talking about the base mechanism here, okay? So you have to have a level of iodide to reach your thyroid, to attach to it. You have to have, you have to release these halides that are attached so that they can grab the iodide. Well, one of the reasons that the thyroid, I'm not saying this is the ultimate reason, I'm just saying it's one of the reasons, but one of the reasons that the thyroid starts building nodules is because it doesn't have enough cell receptor sites to get iodide, and it needs the iodide, and so it starts building, and then you start getting things like thyroid tumors, and when they're the active tumor, that means it's an active tissue of the thyroid gland. And what can happen is it's not working right. Like, things aren't working right by this point. There's been a lot going on, and it's usually more than just the thyroid of an issue. Okay, it usually has blood sugar issues, blood pressure, brain, chemicals, immune system. Like, a lot gets funked up by the time you have a tumor of sorts. But say you have an active tumor of your thyroid, one of the base reasons that can be is because your thyroid doesn't have enough open receptor sites in order to get enough iodide, and so it's making more tissue in order to get more iodide. This is over a long, this could have been stopped way years ago. This is a long term, and then there's lots of nuances to the type of body, the type of mechanics, the type of genetics, what's being triggered, what's being expressed. So there's lots and lots of variables that go into this. So if you have extra thyroid tissue, and then all of a sudden, because things can change so quickly, all of a sudden you are more, you're feeling better, you're feeling happy, whatever, the things are working better. Now you have extra thyroid tissue that is making extra thyroid hormones, which is usually going to be a lot of T4, which is going to give you anxiety, and now you have hyperthyroidism. One of the other things that end up happening is when people start supplementing with iodine and say they're iodide, and they get iodine, Lugol's iodine, and they're starting to get things working, then there is if they get a blood test within the first first week to maybe a month, there's a variable of time frame in there. Their test will come back as if they're hyperthyroid, and they call that a thyroid storm. Now, again, with the whole clinical picture and the symptoms and the diagnosis, the thyroid storm is actually just a collection of symptoms. It's a collection of symptoms with a small amount of data, usually from the blood, that is saying, hey, your thyroid is being overactive. But that doesn't answer the question of why is the thyroid overactive. Well, there's this pickup point where the thyroid has been starved from iodine for so long that it cannot, it finally gets iodide, and it's like, I hardly see this molecule, I need all of it. And then all of a sudden it has all this molecule, and it takes a while for things to balance out when it's been struggling so hard to make the T4 and the T3. So there's an adjustment period there that you have to account for. And if you do have an active tumor or active nodules, they call them also nodules, so there's tumors and there's also nodules. You have active nodules and tumors, and you get more iodine than you're used to seeing, and the whole gland is like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen this, I'm going to hold on to all of it, and now I have more tissue than I've ever had. Yeah, that's going to cause a thyroid storm. Okay? So there's also variables in this way mechanics of the body that need to be paid attention to. There's also idiosyncrasies of different humans and their gene expression, their ability to metabolize their systems, and what level are they, what level of their different body systems are being depressed or suppressed or overactive for one reason or another. That can cause a lot of variable in there. So it's one of the reasons that it is important to not just like go about and just be like, I'm gonna just do everything under the sun and dump things into my body and hope for the best, which sometimes that works and that's wonderful, but sometimes it doesn't work because of that 1 to 10% of the population, which is the whole reason that we have double-blind studies over large groups of people, is to be able to catch some of these nuances. Because if 1% is 10,000 people out of so many people, that's still 10,000 people that are gonna have a problem, okay? And if you're part of that 10,000, that sucks. It's still a lot of people. So like these percentages in the studies, when you think of it, they're like, oh, it's only a 1%, or it's only a 1% delta, or it's only, what is 1%? Because when you start looking at the sheer amount of numbers in this, also the opposite. Oh, it's only 1% of the 10 people. Oh, come on, okay? That doesn't even make sense. Like, what is 1% of 10? That's not even a full person. Could we at least do studies with 100 people? I know it doesn't always work that way, but like, let's just be clear about the numbers and percentages is what I'm saying. Like, yeah. So, there's a lot of reasons you could be having cold feet syndrome. And the thyroid is part of it. And there's a lot of stuff that is there, and just diagnosing somebody with low hypo or hyperthyroidism is not the end of the research. That's not the root cause, and that is one of my points that I'm trying to get at too. Okay, now I'm almost 30 minutes in, and okay, thanks, bye.